Hey y'all, Marshita Patrice here. Welcome to the Sacred Homegirl Collective, where we walk through, talk through, and feel our way through what it means to live a life of faith, joy, and purpose. And I just hope to arm you with the tools that are necessary to intentionally walk in your divine assignments and calling for your life. And one of the things that I want to talk about today, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm a journal. But one of the things that I really want to dive in today is choosing to become the light within the tunnel, and how faith and hope really work and operate and function. So often, when you have this heavy but beautiful calling on your life, their transformation and transition feel like a constant state because you're ever evolving, you're ever growing. And honestly, hopefully, this is true for most people. But I think a lot of us, it's natural, have an aversion to change, right? And with having this aversion to change, it means that it kind of doesn't feel great where you're in transition. And oftentimes people are like, oh, there's always a light at the end of a tunnel. Usually, when you're in a tunnel in this day and age, you are on a train. So you're on something that is moving forward, but it's dark. And I'm speaking to the person who can't wait for the light at the end of the tunnel, for your circumstances to change. I'm speaking to the person who, whether my circumstances change or not, because it doesn't seem like they're changing for the foreseeable future, how can I be the light in the midst of this tunnel? Because that becomes your strongest asset. And from my own personal walk, one of the things that I learned when I shifted from trying to, get to the light at the end of the tunnel, so just trying to persevere and compartmentalize my pain until I saw it changing, and then almost slipping into hopelessness because I didn't see how it could change. All I was looking out was, it just felt like looking out into a void. And that can rob you of hope because you're like, I don't see it happening. And it switched to, and the Lord just was like, well, what if you're not called to wait till the end? What if I told you that there can be a light now? And switching to that mindset, that realization of, well, what in me? Because I have divinity within me. And by nature, it is light, and light combats darkness. So that even though I'm in this tunnel, and even though I may not be able to see all of the steps ahead of me, I walk with one who knows what steps I need to take. And so even though I was in this tunnel of this transition, you know, figuratively speaking, it wasn't cold and it wasn't fully dark. May not have been fully illuminated, but there's comfort in being able to at least see the steps or the next step that's in front of you. And there's comfort in it, there's still being a warmth. And that warmth really came from internally, but then also recognizing that I get to hold my creator's hand. That sometimes when we talk about God, we separate him from us, right? Like, well, he's with me when I go to church. He's with me when I'm doing, I'm reading my Bible or check off some type of good Christian thing. He's with, but he's also with you when you at the strip club. He with you when you go to these places. Like, he with you wherever you are. The fact that you still exist and you've made it to this moment, because I can't count how many times, like, I was like, "Ooh, he didn't really save my life," um, and and so, like, he's with you, even in places that are quote unquote dark places. He's with you. And so instead of that compartmentalizing that separates us from him, why not tap into the power of that relationship? And the way that faith and hope becomes so crucial in this is, again, when you're thinking about the light being at the end of the tunnel, it's meaning I can be happy. I give myself permission to be happy, to have joy, to have fulfillment when the circumstances change. But when you switch to I will be the light in the tunnel, you are giving yourself permission to have joy, to have happiness, to have lightness, to have brevity in that instance, because you become your peace, you become your joy, your relationship, and recognizing that your creator is right there. Why are you going to be scared? Right? And that gives you hope. And hope, right? Hope fuels faith, because faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen, right? And in my mind, I always hear, and that's not necessarily in the scripture, but I always hear, not yet seen, right? So it's coming into being. But the only way that faith begins to operate, begins to become this magnetic force that pulls what is yours from the ether, is if there's enough hope to fuel it. And so often we tell people to have faith without feeding their hope. And the reason why it's so important for you to become the light in the tunnel is because that's fueling your hope, right? When you're able to really just chat with your creator and be like, this, and be able to get to the point where he's promised you something, right? So for me, one of the promises that he said was, I'm sending you to a man who will love you the way that I do. And before that, I think it was 2021, he said, stay the course, your person knows your name. Just figuring out who you are to him right now. And in that moment, I was like, oh, well, he must know my name. My name. Like, I'm Rashida Patrice. Like, let me make sure that the SDO, he can Google me. And what I realized was that name was, in the Hebrew, is really like, he knows your energy. He will recognize you. Just stay the course, meaning keep walking. Even in this tunnel, even in this dark tunnel, I need you to keep walking. Keep walking with me. Stay the course. Don't get distracted by these other counterfeits. Stay the course, right? That was in 2021. Then I think it was 2023. Still haven't had a him ain't find me yet, right? Still 2023, and he wakes me up out of my sleep. I'm sending you to a man who will love you the way that I do. And now that it's 2026, I can honestly say it was worth the wait, right? And so I say this to say that, like, from 2020, where I really had to go through the breaking down of a relationship and engagement, to getting to the point in 2021 where I truly did desire partnership and I admitted it to my creator, getting a word for it, still having to walk, still having to be disappointed that I don't see it, to 2023, still having to walk, still dealing with the disappointment of not seeing it, but in the process, really falling in love with who I am, right? Like, and falling in love, like free falling. Like, I feel like more than love, like I really came to just really like me. Like, I be kicking it with me. I'm cool to kick it with. You know what I'm saying? And like, but still having to juggle the disappointment of it not being there. and not really seeing it full on, having glimpses of it and various interactions and getting closer and closer, but it's still not being it until, you know, the tail end of 2025, right? And like now we're going into 2026 and my whole perception of like, oh wow, right? And I don't really like telling people my business, but I share this to say that part of what fuels hope is having something to strive for and being in the tunnel and having those conversations with your creator. I encourage you to get him to make promises. Be like, okay, so sir, this is what you've told me, and you said like you said that I should be going this way, and you gave me this vision. What does this look like? What does this feel like? Give me a better understanding, right? And usually that word that he comes back to you with, that is the promise that you stand on. That is the promise that fuels your light within the tunnel, and that is what allows you to keep moving forward. Because the thing that we know, and if you don't know, you need to know, and we got to internalize, is that he is not a man that he should lie, right? So if he says he's going to do something, if he promises you something, then if you don't see that something yet, then you need to keep walking because it's coming, right? And I can't tell you how long it's going to take. I don't know. Maybe 2021 to 2026. It's time. However, in that process of being in the tunnel, he's also making you, because you've been called to be a light. You don't have to wait till the circumstances change. You change, and you'll watch how it feels to be in the circumstances, and the circumstances won't have an option but to transform around you, because you're going to make different decisions. You're going to be able to see clearly. The one thing that the enemy tries to do is knock you off your box. And the more that you can be rooted in you being the light, the more that you can be anchored in that, the more that you're going to be able to have power to move forward, even in darkness. So hopefully that made sense. But yeah, hopefully that made sense. I don't got nothing else. I kind of told y'all my business, but like, respect my business, Oh, not me. Let me spill this stuff on myself. You have a good week.